My ex and I have a young teen daughter named Nicole who requires extensive medical attention due to several conditions. Despite having in-home assistance a few days a week, managing Nicole's needs remains challenging. We made the decision not to have more children when Nicole was a toddler, recognizing that dividing our attention between multiple kids would be unfair to all involved. After our separation when Nicole was 5, we initially shared custody equally. 3 years later, my ex remarried, and his new wife, Callie, who is kind, struggled to grasp the severity of Nicole's condition. Despite her initial willingness, Callie eventually expressed a desire to step back from Nicole's care, which I respected, though I was uncertain how this arrangement would function given Nicole lives with them half the time. Last year, my ex and Callie had a baby, which surprised me as my ex had been adamant about not wanting more children. However, I didn't interfere, assuming it was their decision to make. As time passed, my ex began voicing frustrations about juggling Nicole's needs and the demands of caring for the baby. He confided that Callie had reprimanded him for prioritizing Nicole's physical therapy appointment over assisting with the baby. His complaints escalated, leading him to suggest having Nicole stay with me more often. While not entirely unexpected, I found his proposal frustrating, reminding him that Nicole is his daughter and that he couldn't simply shirk his responsibilities. When he questioned what he should do about the baby, I couldn't help but retort that perhaps they should have considered these challenges before expanding their family. After all, we had discussed a decade ago the difficulties of balancing the needs of 2 children. His response was muted as he confessed that Callie had wanted a baby. I expressed that simply wanting a baby wasn't a sufficient reason and suggested that perhaps they should have considered their decision more carefully before bringing another life into the world. The conversation ended with me indicating that I would contact my lawyer to arrange for a reassessment of custody, prioritizing Nicole's well-being over any sense of inconvenience or burden. Later that evening, Callie called me in distress, upset that my ex had been upset and that she felt I had implied her baby shouldn't exist. I clarified that my intention was not to make such a statement but rather to highlight the lack of foresight in their decision-making process. Despite my explanation, Callie labeled me as being insensitive. Some may label me as the instigator in this situation, but it seems apparent that Callie may have had a vision of a picture-perfect family, possibly at the expense of Nicole's needs. Holding my ex accountable, particularly if Nicole is cognizant of being sidelined, seems justified. It's disheartening to witness Nicole potentially being marginalized in favor of a new family dynamic. Ensuring proper legal representation is crucial in this scenario. A competent lawyer can advocate for Nicole's best interests and ensure that appropriate support is provided for her care. However, it's essential to remember that the legal process may not unfold exactly as hoped. The objective should remain focused on Nicole's well-being and ensuring that she receives the care and attention she deserves. Blocking communication with Callie might seem like a quick solution, but it's vital to maintain open channels of communication regarding parental responsibilities. Emotional responses may feel satisfying in the moment but could ultimately complicate matters further. A rational and measured approach, prioritizing Nicole's needs above all else, is paramount. While seeking increased custody may seem like a drastic step, it's driven by a desire to ensure Nicole's welfare. It's crucial to navigate this situation with careful consideration and a focus on what is best for Nicole's long-term happiness and security. Your ex approached you seeking to adjust custody arrangements for your daughter due to the stress of having a new baby. This request, at its core, is a simple yet significant change. However, the complexity arises from the emotions surrounding this transition, which have been exacerbated by everyone involved. It's essential to acknowledge that your ex is well within his rights to expand his family with his wife. While he may be overwhelmed, his request doesn't stem from anger but rather a need for support during this challenging time. In your recounting of events, his primary concern seems to be managing the demands of a newborn alongside caring for your daughter. In the interim, it may be reasonable for your ex to take on more responsibility for your daughter until the baby grows out of infancy. However, it's crucial to approach this adjustment with sensitivity and ensure that your daughter doesn't feel alienated in the process, as this could potentially be what your ex's wife desires. Transitioning to a new family dynamic can be challenging, especially when long-standing traditions clash with personal preferences. Your family's tradition of naming the firstborn son William spans 6 generations, but you've chosen to use your middle name James to avoid the discomfort associated with your first name. While you've grown accustomed to this inconvenience, it's understandable that the memories of childhood teasing linger. As an adult, you've considered legally changing your name but have ultimately accepted the status quo, perhaps even finding it a curious conversation starter. Despite the past discomfort, you recognize that in the grand scheme of things, it's a minor inconvenience, and some might dismiss it as petty. Now, as a new father to a beautiful baby boy named Ezra, you've chosen a name that holds personal significance to you and your partner. While you've honored the family tradition by giving him the middle name William, your family's reaction has been less than enthusiastic. Instead of embracing Ezra's name, they've resorted to referring to him as Junior or simply the child, much to your disappointment. What I want for Ezra is for him to grow up feeling like his own person, free from the burden of living up to any expectations we might have for him, a sentiment I've often yearned for myself. It's crucial to me that he feels comfortable knowing that any decisions he makes will have our unwavering support, regardless of tradition or societal pressures. This conviction is what ultimately reaffirms our decision to name him Ezra, despite the guilt I feel for breaking with family tradition and the strain it has caused in our relationships, particularly with my father. The weight of tradition can be suffocating, and I refuse to subject Ezra to that same feeling. By choosing a name that resonates with us, we're offering him the freedom to carve out his own path in life, unencumbered by the expectations of generations past. However, the discord within my family, especially with my father, serves as a constant reminder of the price of breaking tradition. Yet, I stand firm in my belief that Ezra's name should reflect our values of individuality and unconditional support. While keeping the tradition alive with William as his middle name, it's disheartening to witness the resistance from my family. They've resorted to calling him Junior or simply the child, undermining our choice and disregarding Ezra's identity. The support from others in acknowledging that we have the autonomy to name our children as we see fit has been reassuring. It's a reminder that familial expectations shouldn't dictate such personal decisions. After all, tradition is merely peer pressure from dead people, as the saying goes. However, I can't shake the thought of whether I'm doing the right thing or if I'll regret my decision in the future. The conflict between honoring tradition and forging our own path weighs heavily on me, but I remain steadfast in my conviction to prioritize Ezra's autonomy and individuality above all else. On a separate note, I've encountered a dilemma with my girlfriend Kelly, who is autistic. One of her significant challenges revolves around food preferences, but she's made considerable progress since we've been together. While she used to be wary of certain foods, she's become more open to trying new things, even if they're blended or prepared in alternative ways. Recently, my brother Kevin, who's 35, announced his engagement to his girlfriend Laura, whom he's been with for 3 years. Amidst the excitement, Kevin proposed the idea of hosting a family dinner to celebrate. However, Kelly's food sensitivities have complicated matters, raising concerns about how to accommodate her needs without causing discomfort or drawing undue attention to her challenges. He had some exciting news to share and asked if I would be willing to host a family dinner at my place, knowing my passion for cooking. I gladly agreed, and we settled on a Japanese-themed menu. For the main dish, I poured my heart into making ramen entirely from scratch, ensuring it catered to everyone's preferences, especially considering Kelly's aversion to beef and pork, and my mother's dietary restrictions regarding pork. I meticulously crafted each bowl of ramen, customizing Kelly's portion with extra veggies and omitting the egg, as she isn't fond of it. Meanwhile, I prepared an array of snacks, including tempura, yakitori skewers, and onigiri to complement the meal. However, the evening took an unexpected turn when Laura, my brother's girlfriend, began to pick on Kelly, insisting that her version of ramen wasn't authentic. Despite none of us having any cultural ties to Japan, Laura's comments deeply upset Kelly, causing her to withdraw and eat at a slower pace, an indicator of her increasing anxiety. Things escalated when Laura attempted to take some of Kelly's ramen to validate her argument, causing Kelly to become distressed as she's uncomfortable sharing food from her plate. This led to a heated exchange between Kelly and Laura, resulting in Kelly breaking down in tears from the overwhelming situation. In an effort to diffuse the tension and prioritize Kelly's well-being, I made the difficult decision to ask my brother and Laura to leave. My parents, witnessing the altercation, were understandably concerned about Laura's behavior towards Kelly and suggested that an apology from Laura would be appropriate. Despite their departure, I later received a call from my brother, Kevin, who expressed his frustration, labeling me as an idiot for cutting the evening short and allegedly spoiling Laura's planned pregnancy reveal. While I understand his disappointment, I stand by my decision to prioritize Kelly's emotional well-being and ensure a safe and respectful environment for all guests. He also wasn't happy about her mother scolding him over Laura's behavior. Am I the idiot for kicking my brother and his fiancée out of my house? Not the idiot at all. Laura's attempt to prove a point by grabbing Kelly's raiment because it lacked an egg was absurd. Laura's behavior was bizarre, and your brother's reaction only adds to the confusion. You did the right thing by standing up for your girlfriend and maintaining a respectful environment. Laura's actions ruined her own night. She could have simply enjoyed her food and made her announcement without causing unnecessary drama. I hope your girlfriend is doing okay. Sudden loss of appetite during an anxious spell is understandable. Hopefully, your brother and his fiancée will reflect on their behavior and realize they were in the wrong. It's concerning to witness such behavior among family members, especially over something as trivial as a bowl of ramen. Laura's actions raise questions about her character and how she might treat her own child in the future. It's a troubling insight into her personality. On a separate note, I've been dating Matt, 26, for a little over a year. We had known each other for 2 years prior to dating and always got along well. We recently moved into a place together, but before doing so, we agreed to help fix it up with the landlord to get half off the first month's rent. For a month, we worked tirelessly cleaning and renovating the place. During this time, I noticed some red flags, like Matt's quick temper, but I attributed it to the heat and stress of the situation. However, his behavior continued even after we finished and moved in yesterday. He was constantly barking orders at me and nitpicking about where things should go in the house. He was constantly questioning my decisions, making me feel incompetent with his condescending glares and remarks. Each time he asked me to accompany him to Walmart to splurge on unnecessary items, I felt my frustration mounting, especially considering we hadn't even finished unpacking our belongings. Despite my reservations about spending more money, I reluctantly agreed to accompany him. Upon returning home, I began preparing dinner, opting for a family pack of kielbasa and rice, which I deemed more than sufficient for our meal. However, when I only sliced up 2/3 of the kielbasa, he erupted, insisting that I cook the entire pack. I calmly explained that what I had prepared would be plenty for all of us, with enough for leftovers, which I intended to use for meals the following day. His explosive reaction, berating me for my supposed selfishness and lack of consideration, was shocking. Thankfully, my kids were safely away with my mom at the park, sparing them from witnessing his outburst. When he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, I knew I couldn't stay in that toxic environment any longer. Swiftly, I began gathering our belongings, determined to remove myself and my children from the situation. With my mom's help, we swiftly loaded up the car and left before he returned, sparing myself and my kids from further distress. Shortly after, I received a text from him, expressing remorse for his behavior and pleading for me to return. He cited exhaustion and stress from work and the renovations as contributing factors to his outburst. While his apology may have seemed sincere, I knew that leaving was the right decision for my well-being and that of my children. Reflecting on the events of the day, I realized that I couldn't subject myself and my children to such toxic behavior. Despite my initial hopes for a happy home with my boyfriend, it was clear that the relationship had become untenable. Leaving was not only an act of self-preservation but also a necessary step towards reclaiming my autonomy and ensuring a healthy environment for my children. The audacity of him to imply that leaving over such behavior was unwarranted, especially when he himself left over trivial matters. It's a clear double standard, and it speaks volumes about his character. You absolutely did the right thing by removing yourself and your children from that toxic environment. Your well-being and that of your children should always come first, and you made a courageous decision to prioritize that. I'm relieved to hear that you took the kielbasa with you when you left. It's a small victory, but it symbolizes your independence and determination to start anew. Your strength and resilience are commendable, and I have no doubt that you'll thrive on your own. Regarding your situation, it's clear that trust has been shattered, and rebuilding it will take time and effort from both parties. However, his repeated indiscretions and lack of remorse suggest a pattern of behavior that is deeply concerning. Your feelings of betrayal and hurt are valid, and it's crucial to prioritize your emotional well-being during this difficult time. I understand the challenges of contemplating leaving, especially with children involved. It's natural to worry about their adjustment and the impact it will have on them. However, staying in a toxic relationship is not conducive to a healthy family dynamic. Your happiness and safety matter, and it's essential to prioritize what is best for you and your children in the long run. Your husband's attempts to downplay his actions by claiming he never physically cheated miss the point entirely. Emotional infidelity is just as damaging, if not more so, as physical infidelity. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and his repeated betrayals have eroded that foundation beyond repair. I encourage you to seek support from trusted friends or family members and consider seeking counseling to navigate this challenging situation. You deserve to be in a relationship built on trust, respect, and mutual love and support. Remember that you are not alone, and there are resources available to help you through this difficult time.